Good Friday morning, everybody. As good as you can make it after what felt like the death blow to the season. Although, not really. I mean, it's definitely a bit of a stomach punch. Things are now a little out of your control, but there's still games left to play, and there's still an opportunity to make this season memorable in its own way. And maybe in a certain way it's already memorable, but what I'm trying to say is it's not over yet. And while we're here, while we're still talking about the possibility of this team making the playoffs, and while we're still figuring out what's going on with our draft picks, let's figure out what we want to happen over the next few days. I didn't make this video before Thursday Night Football because there's nothing to say about that game. We all know what we needed there. Didn't happen, didn't get it. In fact, we haven't been getting that desired result really at all. It feels like over the last almost ever since I started making these videos again. In fact, maybe I shouldn't make these videos. I don't know. But whatever. Didn't happen. So the Seahawks are not in a great spot. But let's see what can happen over the next few days to make it not so bad. So we've got some Saturday games this week where they're starting on the NFL Saturday stuff. You've got the Colts and the Vikings to lead things off. Pulling for the Vikings for two reasons. One, the Colts played the Broncos, so the Colts losing affects the Broncos' strength of schedule in a negative way, which we desire. And also, the Vikings, as we know, are basically guaranteed to win their division. But at this point, our desired outcome for the Vikings is for them to actually have nothing to play for at the end of the year. So you take a look at the NFC playoffs. The Eagles are currently 2 games ahead of the Vikings, and they own the head-to-head tiebreaker guaranteed against the Vikings. So the Vikings will even if they have a good end of the year, they're not going to be in play for the number one seed because the Eagles are too far ahead. So what we desire is for the Vikings to be so far ahead of the 49ers that the 49ers can't catch up to them in Week 18, which allows the Vikings to rest starters in Week 18 when they play the Bears. And the Bears are one of the teams that is competing with the Broncos for their top pick. So that is the best opportunity the Bears are going to have this year to get another win. It involves the Vikings resting starters, and in order for the Vikings to rest starters, they need to keep winning now. So we definitely need them to win this one over the Colts. Okay, next up you have Ravens-Browns. There's not a ton here, but the Ravens did play the Broncos, so if they lose, the Broncos have their strength of schedule damaged a little bit. Also, the Browns, while they already have 5 wins, are more in play for a top pick. Now, not really. Now, they're sending their pick to Houston, but either way, it doesn't really matter to us. That pick's already down at 12, so the odds of it becoming involved with Denver's pick is relatively low. But just in case, it can't hurt to say you would prefer that Cleveland win one more game. So, yeah, we may as well root for the Browns here, I guess. Not a huge deal either way. And we have one more game on the Saturday slate, Dolphins versus Bills. Trying to find an angle by which this game matters. I guess we want to make sure the Bills keep the pressure on the Chiefs so the Chiefs have something to play for every game this year. But we also want to make sure the Chargers have something to play for, right? Because we want the Chargers to have a reason to beat the Broncos in, I believe it's Week 18. So I guess you put all that together, you would say you're probably rooting for the Bills because the Dolphins losing would actually put them in, I believe, a tie with the Chargers if they win this week. And therefore, because the Chargers beat the Dolphins last week, the Chargers would actually become a wild card. But it's a little bit convoluted, and it's a little hard to know for sure what you actually want until you get to the end of the year and are able to look at it with hindsight. So I'm going to say we want the Bills to win, but it's pretty thin, and it's pretty titchy. Okay, now we get to Sunday, and we get to our first game here, and this is, it's a football game, but only in the most technical definition. Eagles and Bears, and I mean, we could use the Bears finding a way to some ridiculous win. It would be nice. Again, I would point out that the Eagles winning does put the Vikings in a better position to be able to rest starters in Week 18. So, to a certain extent, the Eagles inevitably winning this game is not the worst thing in the world. But we are definitely rooting for the Bears here, as futile as it may be. Also, just for whatever it's worth, the Eagles resting starters in Week 18 against the Giants, if they end up doing that, could be devastating to our playoff odds. So if the Eagles want to find a way to a loss or two between now and the end of the year, I wouldn't mind it. But I seriously doubt it's going to happen here, so we're just talking about hypotheticals. And hypothetically, it would sure be nice if this terrible, terrible Bears team found a way to beat maybe the best team in football. Falcons Saints. I don't think that this matchup means much of anything in terms of the playoffs anymore. The Falcons just look dead in the water to me. The Saints have too many losses as is. I'm not really thinking about it from that angle anymore. Neither team played the Broncos this year. So I'm going to just say sit back and enjoy the ride here. If you really, really, really want to be careful about the playoffs, then go ahead and root for the Saints. But it's kind of an anything goes game. I guess you could say the Saints pick is still in play for being in line with the Broncos pick because they're currently 5th and the Broncos are picking 2nd. That's about the best I can do. Again, I seriously doubt that's going to come into play, but sure. This game, just call this one a big whatever. Not a big whatever, however, would be this sucker right here. Lions at the Jets. We are big, monumental, massive Jets fans for this week, guys. If the Jets beat the Lions, then the Lions are going to be in a very difficult position to make the playoffs, even if they win out, because we have the tiebreaker. That puts us in a position as Seahawks fans where we can win 2 of our last 3. So just the Jets and the Rams, not the Chiefs, Jets, Rams. And we are guaranteed to finish above the Lions. At that point, the only thing that would matter would be, can we outstrip one of the Commanders / Giants? If we can, we get in. If the Lions win this game, they are a genuine threat to win out and pass us even with our tiebreaker. So this is one of the biggest games of the week for us, and we are monster Jets fans for this one. Just prepare yourself for that one. Obviously, the Jets are small favorites. They're not in a bad position in this one, but the Lions are playing great football lately, so not going to be easy. Another 10 a.m. game. We have Steelers Panthers. Who knows, right? Both 5-win teams. There's no real playoff implications as it concerns the Seahawks. I can't figure out any way in which this game matters. Just do whatever you want to do here. Root for whoever you want to root for. I can't figure out a way that it really matters. The only thing I got is that the Broncos played the Panthers. Panthers losing would be bad for the Broncos' strength of schedule, which is good for us. That's all I got. That tiny little nugget of impact. But beyond that, go crazy. Have fun with this one. Cowboys, Jaguars. Cowboys are basically guaranteed a playoff spot at this point, even if they lose out 10 wins. We're probably not getting to 10 wins, so it's not like we're going to pass the Cowboys. Like, even if we win out and they lose out, they might still get in ahead of us. So I'm not really thinking about that. Jacksonville is already at 5 wins, so they're probably not in play for a top pick, but just in case, because their strength of schedule is a little below average, I don't think it can be a bad idea to say, let's hope Jacksonville finds a way to pull the upset this week. So I'm going to say root for the Jags to win, but honestly, there's not as much reason as you would expect to do so. 10 a.m., we got Chiefs-Texans. The Texans, we're looking for those couple of extra wins. Still looking for them. I don't think we're going to find them, but we may as well keep looking. So if the Texans want to find a way to a ridiculous upset, I'm not going to stand in their way. So hoping for the Texans to pull off the unthinkable. And then we move to the afternoon slot where we've got the Cardinals minus their quarterback, the Broncos minus their quarterback's brain, and throw that all in a big blender and see what comes out. Denver is favored, which I mean, I kind of get it, but I also kind of don't get it. It's going to be a really weird game. There's a pretty big coaching advantage for the Cardinals. I think Colt McCoy's probably better than Ripien or Brett Ripien or whichever Ripien it is. Honestly, he's probably better than Russell Wilson with his brain not working too. So, I mean, I don't need to tell you guys, we're big Cardinals fans this week. We definitely want the Cardinals to get the job done here, and if it happens, we've virtually locked up that top 3 pick. If the Broncos can drop one more game this week against the Cardinals, that top 3 pick is basically on the table waiting to be grabbed. Another 1:05 p.m. start, Patriots-Raiders. Strength of schedule dictates us wanting the Raiders to lose, which means we want the Patriots to win. I think that's the only angle where that game can really matter. Titans-Chargers. The Chargers are a team that plays the Broncos twice this year. The Titans only play them once. So strength of schedule-wise, you want the Chargers to lose, but you also want the Chargers to have something to play for in Week 18. Now, they may be able to have something to play for even if they lose this game, but there's a little bit of a balancing act here. You don't want the Chargers to be eliminated and playing their backups in Week 18. So with that in mind, I'm going to say we are Chargers fans. Another 1:25 p.m. start, Bengals versus Buccaneers. Look, the Bucs, it's not like the Seahawks are going to win their division. In fact, they've been eliminated from winning their division, so the Bucs winning their division now means nothing to us. Root for the Bengals anyway because it's more fun. Like, that's just a much more fun team than these Bucs. These Bucs need to go away. They're not fun. It's not cool that they're still in the playoff race despite being bad at football. But there's no real reason to, I guess. It's just kind of whatever at this point. So Bengals, Bucs, that's just kind of a do whatever you want to do. Sunday Night Football. This one is confusing because it's a huge game and it's also a meaningless game, right? I'm still going to say we want the Commanders to win because the Giants are the team that is clearly poised to completely melt down in the final part of the year. If they lose this game, then we can root for them to lose out easily and see it happening. They play the Vikings, the Eagles, and I think the Colts. They might win one of those games, but that might be enough for the Seahawks to back into the playoffs. So I say we are Commanders fans, but if you personally believe that the Commanders are more likely to melt down than the Giants, then you would obviously feel differently. So let's see what happens, but I'm going to say we are Commanders fans for this week. And then Monday night we got Rams-Packers. The only thing that really matters at this point is that the Rams are more likely to be in play with their top pick. They're currently 4th, which is better than I thought they would be. Well, yeah, it's better than where I thought they would be by one spot. But we would still prefer they bank one more win just to make sure that they don't end up picking higher than the Broncos. So we are Rams fans again this week. And again, just because they don't have their first round pick, they have some of their other picks. We don't want those picks to be super high if we can avoid it. So why not at this point? And that's it for the week in football. Those are all the rooting angles that I can see for these various matchups. Hope you guys had a good time watching. Hope you guys learned something. And I will talk to you guys later today, maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Still really not feeling well, but there is some hope on the horizon. And I'll probably be talking about that a little bit later. So, go Hawks. That's what we're looking for this week.